Bun venit la o nouă ediție a emisiunii Ziua se apropie. În minutele care urmează vă prezentăm raportul european de la Bruxelles din noiembrie 2024 din seria de rapoarte lunare de acest fel. În ediția de astăzi, moderatorul Yossi Lempkowicz, împreună cu invitații săi Antonio López-Istúriz White, directorul fondator al organizației European Coalition for Israel, și Tomas Sandell, discută despre schimbul de gardă de la Casa Albă și de la Uniunea Europeană din Bruxelles și despre ramificațiile și implicațiile acestora. Vizionare plăcută!
Every 5 years, the citizens of the European Union elect a new European Parliament. This happened last June. At the same time, the heads of the governments of the 27 members appoint each of them a member of the new European Commission. This week started with the confirmation hearings of the designated European commissioners. They will be scrutinized here in the European Parliament, where we are, with the hope that on December 1st there will be a new European Commission in place under President Ursula von der Leyen. The new Commission will also include a new High Representative for Foreign Affairs, who is a sort of foreign minister of the European Union. In this edition of the European Report, we are going to discuss the ramifications and the implications of this change of guards. The question is, will it affect EU-Israel relations, and if so, in what way? In the studio today, we are pleased to have the former chairman of the European Parliament Delegation for Relations with Israel, MEP Antonio López-Istúriz White from Partido Popular, Popular Party in Spain. You are a member of the European People's Party, the largest political group in the European Parliament, and you are also a member of AFET, yes, the important Foreign Affairs Committee. We have also founding director of European Coalition for Israel, Tomas Sandell. Thank you both of you for being here today. My name is Yossi Lempkowicz from European Jewish Press and Europe-Israel Press Association. Of course, I will start today with the biggest news of the day, which is the US elections, and MEP Antonio Istúriz White, you are also partly American, so you have probably, you know the situation.
My mother is from Kansas City, so as American as can be. No? And that's why I have a very rare privilege. I follow American elections through my family and not through European media, sorry to say. Which, again, another time, they have failed to see the societal situation in the United States. I don't think that now, with this Trump victory, could anyone say that this is stupid white people from the Midwest of the United States? There is a lot of black voters, of Latin voters that they have voted for Trump. Maybe it's time to make a little reflection about what's going on for us Europeans also. I have worked with different American administrations as a European politician. I don't care if they are Republican, Democrat. I have worked perfectly well with Clinton's administration, Obama's, Bush. I think that we, instead of being crying around for the victory of Trump, which Trump will not respect, what we have to do is to show strength, unity, and to talk equal to equal. That Trump will understand. He's a businessman. He knows and the United States needs Europe, and we need them. So these first steps, I think that Ursula von der Leyen, as president of the Commission, has to be there first to talk with one voice with Trump and to make clear, further steps in our relation. From January, the first day he's truly a position as President of the United States again. I have to recall that he was already President of the United States, and contrary to the headlines that I saw, the war continued, the war was not destroyed. This doesn't mean that I have fascination or any kind of attraction for Trump, but yes, for the reality that now is clear he reflects of the American society, and we have to take good note and know how to deal with it in the next future. If we hide, if we retire crying about this victory, then Trump will be merciless.
And we will discuss maybe later about the implications also for the Middle East.
Of course.
So, Tomas Sandell, your reaction to the latest results, like Donald Trump being on the way to the White House?
Obviously, I'm not American. I'm a Finn, so I'm not sure how much I can say. Other than there is a famous slogan here outside of the European Parliament when it says "democracy in action," and obviously this is what has happened. Two reflections. I was a very young student in 1980 when Jimmy Carter was challenged in the US elections by a person called Ronald Reagan. Everyone in Europe, they warned about this clown. They said he was a warmonger. If he was elected, the world this would be the Third World War. And to everyone's surprise, he was elected, and history has been very kind to the legacy of Ronald Reagan. I learned one thing, similar like López-Istúriz, that you cannot trust European media in understanding US politics. My other observation is to say that to the point that a Trump presidency can restore American deterrence in the world, this will be a good 4 years. And when we look at his track record, obviously, it was quite amazing when it comes to foreign policy, both the things that he were able to deter, but also to build up, like the Abraham Accords. And the Biden administration, sadly, does not have a very impressive record the last 4 years, the war in Ukraine, the war in the Middle East. So on this ground, I would like to be hopeful. Obviously, again, there are reasons for concern. How will he relate to the war in Ukraine, to Europe, to NATO? But this remains to be seen, and I very much share the pragmatic approach of López-Istúriz as well. We'll have to work with this administration.
Mr. López-Istúriz, let's, before we go into EU-Israel relations, let's take a few moments to speak about your country, Spain, and in particular the Spain-Israel relations, which are very particular, and Spain is today referred as the least friendly country towards Israel in Europe, in the European Union. We saw the statements, various statements of the Prime Minister of Spain, Pedro Sanchez, about Israel, about recognition of a Palestinian state, calling for an arms embargo to Israel, appealing together with Ireland for reviewing the association agreement with Israel. We remind that under the leadership of former Prime Minister José Manuel Aznar, the Spain was one of the most pro-Israel country in Europe. So what happened?
I was his personal assistant during that time,
that's
so
why
I lived it.
Absolutely, that's what also we mentioned it. But what happened since then? What happened, and how do you explain this change?
First of all, my country is going through a very difficult time this week because of the floodings in Valencia. So, this is now our top priority. It's a tragedy that could happen anywhere in Europe. There has been floodings in Central Europe, in many countries. So I just want to throw this warning note. Second, We have to be just. The first government that recognized Israel in Spain was socialist, Felipe González, in the 80s. Aznar had a very good relation and allowed Spain to enter into a fantastic relation with Israel. So that was hand on hand by socialists and popular in the party in Spain. It was a concentrated foreign policy. And also out of respect of hundreds of years that there was a bad feeling in Spain about the expulsion of Jews during in 1492. That had a psychological impact in the country, so it was a healing process. Unfortunately, the Socialist Party, under the next Prime Minister, Zapatero, and then with Sánchez definitively, went into the political use of this question only for political gains with the radical left in Spain. Is the Spanish society anti-Jewish? No. Is the Spanish society submitted during years to pressure from media about the conflict in Gaza, from one side? The Spanish public, I have to tell you, they are not aware even what's going on there. They only know through the media in our country, which I have to say, unfortunately, like in many other things, it's only one-sided. And now, like everywhere in Europe, this is taking an ideological stand. Unfortunately, I don't want Israel to be only supported by the right or extreme right in Europe. I would like a consensus over this, but there is not, because the left, during decades, has been supporting as a political flag, as a political gain with certain communities in Europe, this anti-Israeli flag. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. Politically, to use these flags against someone, I believe, I have never done it, it's a mistake. Is this means that Spain, also I have to say, in Israel, there is, I think, a distortion view about Spain. The media in Israel, they paint a picture that all Spanish are anti-Israelis and anti-Jews. And this is absolutely false. My party, for example, is supportive, has always been publicly supportive. It's been a party of government, now it's in opposition. When we return to power, I'm sure we will heal all these activities by Sánchez, that, by the way, he doesn't care. About Israel, Gaza, the West Bank, he doesn't care. It's all political gains. He spoke a lot during the elections, the European elections. Afterwards, has he said anything? No. It was only for electoral purposes. This is the man, capable of using anything. Unfortunately, a sign of today's politics, not only Sánchez, but many politicians around in power. So I would like to separate. It's not Spain, it's not the Spanish society. It's a particular use from a political party.
When we speak about the left in Spain, we speak about socialists and extreme left.
And then the extreme left. But there are moderate socialists.
Yeah, sure.
There are. But they are all prisoners of this extreme left. And they accuse us of being always prisoners of the extreme right, blah, 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 blah. They are really, because they are in government with them. And they need them. And these people are always talking about the genocide in Gaza. There are manifestations, around in Spain produced by them. This is a very radical left. And many European governments still do not know that. These are communists from the old time, that they hate the United States, they hate the democratic free world, they hate Israel because it's the only democratic states in the area. So we have to take also into account this, how the government in Spain is. Because, claro, who won the elections? My party. But unfortunately, we are respectful. There were a coalition of extreme, political forces, even coming from the old terrorist band, ETA, that now they are working in democracy. Okay, we are Democrats. But hearing them talk about these things, it's a little bit, you have to be really a good Democrat to bear this.
Tomas Sandell, you are from Finland, north of Europe. I would like to have the same question. The Nordic countries have often been considered as pro-Palestinian. But what is it? Is the same situation today? Because there are some changes now in some countries, or there are differences between the Nordic countries.
Well, of course, before 1967, I think the Nordic countries were just like Europe as a whole. They were pro this tiny little Jewish state that survived, you know, and with the Holocaust survivors building up their Jewish national home. 1967, of course, was this threshold year when things changed. I would say that 1968 was even more significant because that's the year of the student revolution, the new revolutionaries, the new left. And frankly, many of the personalities who were shaped during this time are still playing a key role in European politics. I don't know about Joseph Borrell, but I would suspect that he would be more or less of this generation. Mm-hmm. So things changed after 1968, and this was again part of a progressive leftist agenda to paint Israel as this last colonial bastion. Things have, like it usually is in life, things go back and forth. And now I think there's a moment when, especially in Sweden and Denmark, people are waking up and realizing that they have imported the conflict of the Middle East into their own inner cities. So we have a lot of criminality, we have a lot of rebellions in these cities. And the electorate are paying attention. They say, no, this is not what we like. You know, we realize that Israel is this beacon of hope. It is a democracy. We don't buy the radical Islamist agenda. So Denmark and Sweden clearly taking a stand. I think in Finland is a little bit on the fences. Norway under the current government, just like Spain. And by the way, Spain, Norway and Ireland are really leading this campaign to have a Palestinian recognition. But by and large, the Nordic countries are becoming more pro-democracy, pro-rule of law, pro-Israel.
MEP López-Istúriz, let's speak now about EU-Israel relations. You have been for 5 years the chairman of the EU-Israel European Parliament delegation.
May I? Sorry, as a reaction, because you were talking about Ireland.
Yes.
Let's find it's casual. I don't know if it's casual or not, but should be studied. The two countries that suffered terrorism in the past, like Spain and Ireland, and it still has an emotional, background, are at the head of this. Where ETA and the IRI were trained and training Islamist terrorists, something should be studied about this, about the consequences. Also in the psychology of many of the people, coming from specific zones of Ireland, of Spain, about all this, that they took a stand in the past, and the involvement, you talk about the 67 war and many others, how Russia, the Soviet Union at that time also made an ideological division about this. Israel is with the United States, you people have to be with me. We are victims of this, unfortunately, we are victims. Israel is victim of this, as well as the Palestinians. That's why my initial argument is we cannot politicize from an ideological point of view, the division of support. It shouldn't be, the conflict should not be under this prisma, under this lens, okay? That's only a thought that I leave on the table.
I just mentioned that you, for 5 years, you have been chairman of the EU-Israel Parliament delegation. How would you characterize these last 5 years, and what do you expect for the next 5 years, knowing that we have a new parliament, which is more to the right, we will have a new High Representative for Foreign Affairs from former Prime Minister of Estonia, Kaja Kallas. who will replace Joseph Borrell, also from Spain, socialist, which has proven to be very critical of Israel during his mandate.
You know, we can only expect that only better comes to the High Representative post. I mean, it couldn't be worse. With my friend Borrell, I have a good friendship, you know, and so on. And we agree in many things, but particularly in this, no. And it's still, for me, a source of always surprise, his attitude, no? Someone that, by the way, spent some part of his youth in a kibbutz. And I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
But he came, you know, and has been part of this, you know, left in Europe that has been always, let's say, not one-sided, I have to say, but nearly, in the case of Borrell. Said so, I expect from Kaja Kallas, I hope, and I expect also, you know, something of a new stand, a new position. I want to give her time. Still, she has not even gone through the hearings. I have good vibration. I have talked with her, and I have good vibrations. I think that, you know, nothing revolutionary, but we could see, you know, maybe also a better relation with the President of the European Commission, with Ursula von der Leyen, could lead to, let's say, a united front in foreign affairs for the European Union that could be very helpful for all of us. I think it's a very good thing. And also in our stand, you know, in the conflict in Gaza, because all the European voices have to be heard in this story. So, you know, I have my expectations, and I hope that this will be relieved. Let me tell you my 5 years of experience. First, I have to admit clearly, with the previous government, with the coalition government, it was a fantastic relation. I have to say it, although not my ideological background, but there were exchanges between the Knesset and us on a monthly basis, you know, a lot of enthusiasm from the government in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, you know, towards us, you know, big time. And then came Netanyahu. Nothing against him, and he was elected freely by the people of Israel, but I'm afraid, you know, his stand with Europe is closed door, and I have not heard anything from, you know, the Israeli government, although I have to praise the good work of the diplomatic service and the ambassador of Israel, that they are doing an outstanding work in many of our countries and here in Brussels, but, you know, with a government that really doesn't want to contact us at all. I have personal experience on that. I would rather prefer a change, a shift on this from the actual government, because as I told you with the United States, I'm ready to work with governments that come from one side or the other. I am above all this. It is important, the transatlantic relation with the United States, with Europe, as it is important the relation of Israel with Europe. Whoever is in power, you know, I don't care.
Tomas Sandell, shortly the same question regarding the past. You have been following EU-Israel relations for many years, so what do you expect, and what also in view of the past?
Yeah, let me say, commend López-Istúriz for being a very active chair of the Israel delegation. I know, looking back for these 25 years, there were many times where an MEP would make sure that they became chair just to neutralize the whole delegation. There would hardly be any meetings, there would hardly be any statements, but this has changed, I say, the last 10, 15 years, and especially the last 5 years, so kudos to López-Istúriz. Let me say one more thing about the future, looking at the next 5 years. I think the first thing the Commission should do is to appoint an inquiry, a truth commission, into looking at what has happened with the tremendous billions of aid going into Palestinian territories over the last 20 years. And how can it be that the problems are much greater today than when we started this humongous industry? And I think this is really my call to both the President and the coming High Representative. It's time to do introspection and make sure that the next 5 years we're building something for the future and for peace.
We have only a few minutes left, so I will ask you both a short question regarding the challenges now in the Middle East with the war in Gaza, Lebanon, the conflict with Iran. What are the big challenges do you see also with regard to the new incoming Trump administration?
The same as always. We all know where the problem lies. It's Iran. It's causing all the destabilization in the area. It's been going on for decades. We have to be open and transparent about this and focus on how to end with this nightmare. The regime in Iran lives out of destabilization in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Syria, in Iraq, in Egypt, wherever they have an opportunity. In Yemen, something has to be done about it. That's it.
Thomas.
I completely agree. But on an optimistic note, I see the regime is really crumbling. You know, when Iran being humiliated by the Israeli airstrikes, but also from within. The last few days, this girl, a doctoral student who stripped off all her clothes, this is the sign of a regime which is crumbling. And let's hope and pray that sooner rather than later, the people of Iran will be free.
This brings us to an end of this edition. I would like to thank again MEP López-Istúriz White and the founding director of the European Coalition for Israel, Tomas Sandell, for joining this program. My name is Yossi Lempkowicz, and you have just watched the European Report. See you next month.
Emisiunea Ziua se apropie, se încheie aici. Vă mulțumim pentru atenție și vă dăm o nouă întâlnire săptămâna viitoare la aceeași oră. Sunt Codruța Burghelea, vă spun la revedere și Dumnezeu să vă binecuvânteze!